Welcome back, my friends, to another graphing lesson. In this lesson, we'll take a look at histograms. I know, that's a pretty cool name for something. Doesn't sound scary, does it? It's actually really cool. And here is a histogram that I just made for you. Let's take a good look at it, and you'll notice some things, because we want to learn how to interpret these. So you may notice that it looks a lot like a bar graph. In fact, it looks very much like a bar graph. Let's bring a bar graph out here and take a look. Look at that. They both have bars, but there is something different. Let's look at the similarities, I suppose. They both have data tables, yep. They both have bars. They both have the two axes, but they're being used a little differently. On the bar graph, we've got on the vertical axis the number of plants that I have, and then the name of the plants underneath that. It's pretty simple. Each bar represents the number of that type of plant. On the histogram, we have a little bit of a different topic. Height of plants in my garden. There's the number of plants, okay, same thing. But then if you notice in the data table and at the bottom, these aren't fixed points, these are ranges. We're not seeing how many plants are 1 inch. We're seeing how many plants are between 0 and 1 inch. So there's some 1/2 inch plants in there, some 3/4 inch plants in there, and the same for all the other ones. You can see 0 to 1 inch, 1 to 2 inch, 2 to 3 inch, 3 to 4 inch, 4 to 5 inch, 5 to 6 inch. So a histogram and a bar graph. The differences are, well, the histogram shows ranges. So, how do we make one of these? Well, we need a different kind of question. We need something that's going to give us ranges. And actually, I'm going to use the exact same question I used for my bar graph. Now, here's my bar graph that I made with you. It shows us the ages of my students. And I want to know how many are 6, how many are 7, how many are 8, how many are 9, how many are 10. But what if I wanted to do it a little bit differently? What if I wanted to know how many of you are between 6 and 7? Because some of you are almost 7, right? What if I want to know how many of you are between 7 and 8, or 8 and 9, or 9 and 10? Well, a histogram would be the way to do that. So let's get started on one. You're going to need a blank piece of graph paper. Graph paper really is the best for this, with all of that grit on it. You'll need a straight edge. And you'll need some delicious colored pencils. Don't eat them, just have some fantastic colors ready to make this graph look beautiful. Okay, and the first thing we're always going to do is make sure to write our question, but I am going to fold this in half because I like to make little booklets out of my graphs. Okay, what are the ages of my students? All right. And once I have that there, I need to make a table, of course. So I'll go ahead and I'll choose a nice spot to put a line. And then I'll think, what is the data that I'm going to be collecting? Age, got it. I want to know what everybody's age is, and then how many students. And I'll put that on the other side, and I'll take count of that as I go and ask you your age. All right, I think we're ready to go. Oh, wait, I do still need to write down my ranges. Okay, how about, why don't we start as low as 5 to 6 years old, and then 6 to 7, 7 to 8, 8 to 9, and why don't we throw that 9 to 10 in there? And how about we just give us a little extra room with a 10 to 11? Okay, I'm going to go ask you how old you are, so hold on a second. I'll be right there. All right, I'm back. Wow, it was quite a trip to speak to each of you. And I've got my number there, and it's very similar to the numbers I got for my bar graph, but this one makes it feel like we've got more of a range. Some of you don't have to be 6 years old, even if you're 6 months, 11 months, whatever many of months over that age. Okay, creating the axis is very much the same as with a bar graph. So I'm going to do this pretty quickly. And go ahead and get yours ready if you need to. All right, so two axes. There's the y-axis or vertical, and there's that horizontal one. But what do we put on each one? Well, our vertical axis is going to be our frequency, or how many of what we got. So we'll put number of students. And then we'll need to number it, but we'll want to think about what is our highest number. And on this one, it's 8. Well, you know, 8 spaces isn't really that high. So I'm going to double it. I'm going to make every 2 spaces be 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's my 8, 9, and 10. And that got me up that high. It will also allow us to see differences that much bigger. Okay. So I also have to label the bottom here too, and that is where it's going to look different. I like to start one space out to just give myself a little room. And I'm going to put my lowest age right there. I'm then going to skip over and put my next age range. And I've skipped 2 lines on this one. I'm going to do the same for the next one. 7, 8, 9, 10, all the way to the highest number of my ranges, which is 11. And the range actually fits between there. And each bar is going to grow from that range. So 5 to 6 years old. How many of you are there? 0. It's pretty fantastic. I can see that right on my table there. And I could have tallied these too when I wrote those numbers down, just to double check. Okay, how about 6 to 7? There's 8 of you. So I go all the way up to the 8. I'll use my straight edge to give it a nice straight cap, and then bring that bar all the way down. And maybe I'll even add some color later or some really cool patterns for you 6 to 7-year-olds. So there's all of you who fit between the years of 6 and 7 years old. Look at all of you. Okay, 7 to 8 years old, there's only 7. Now in this one, notice that I am putting my bars right next to each other to really get a good look at those differences. There's the 7 to 8-year-olds. How about the 8 to 9-year-olds? There's only 6 of you, all the way from 8 years old to 9 years old. There we go. Another fantastic bar. Oh, we've got 5 of the next age group to go. So if you like this type of graph, you could definitely make your ranges more and more accurate. You could do between months. You could do between years. You could change the scale quite a bit to how you like it and how it suits what you are trying to show with your graph. And now we're actually already done. Now it would be ready for coloring. Look at that. We can get a very, very close look at those differences. Let me pull that bar graph back out. Let's take a look. Because it actually does look very similar, but the main difference is we're showing ranges here. We're giving some of you that perspective, well, maybe you're between ages. Whereas on the bar graph, it's more like, yep, you're 10, you're 9, you're 8. I mean, we know you're really not, but that's the basic thought there. So, well, bar graphs and histograms. Which one are you going to make next? Find a cool topic, and I can't wait to see it pop up on the drive. Later, friends.